And now, Superhuman Shaq.
I keep telling them not to say that. I'm no superhuman. Believe it or not, I struggle with moderate obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA. In adults with obesity, moderate to severe OSA is a condition where breathing is interrupted during sleep with loud snoring, choking, gasping for air, and even daytime fatigue. Let's just say it can sound a lot like this. Sound familiar? Learn more at don'tsleeponosa.com.
This information is provided by Lilly, a medicine company.
At Lowe's, before the holidays is the perfect time for upgrades and upkeep. During Black Friday, get up to 50% off select major appliances and buy more to save more with up to an additional 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. Plus, grab select DeWalt 20-volt max drill or impact driver kits for just $99. Lowe's. We help, you save. Valid through 12/3. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
At Capella University, learning online doesn't mean learning alone. You'll get support from people who care about your success, like your enrollment specialist who gets to know you and the goals you'd like to achieve. You'll also get a designated academic coach who's with you throughout your entire program. Plus, career coaches are available to help you navigate your professional goals. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hey, welcome back to Big Little Lessons. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Kristine. We're longtime teaching partners working together for over 17 years. And we've learned that the lessons that start in kindergarten often carry us all the way through life.
Well, today we're going to unpack the joy of singing and so much more. And let's start today by sharing some personal stories about what song has done for us in our lives.
Ooh,
Kristine, do you want to start?
I would love to start. So I have a story that starts I'm going to take us back to 1977. And I was 11 years old. Some of you might know that I didn't grow up in the United States. I grew up on a small island off the coast of Spain. And I went to a teeny tiny school. It was a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere and with a bunch of expats. So it wasn't Spanish children. It was international children from all over the world. So there was a music teacher. Her name was Lauren, and I could just picture her. She was probably in her 20s, and she had this really crazy, frizzy, long brown hair. And she was just so kind and so lovely. And she was putting together a choir. And up until then, I had never participated in anything like that before. She was American, so I thought that was really cool. I was American. We connected. Nobody else was American. There weren't a lot of Americans. So I signed up to be in this choir, and there was probably about, 6 girls. That's it, because it was a teeny tiny school. We would rehearse, and I can't even remember if we actually performed, but I think it was mostly just singing together. So we would get together probably once or twice a week and sing. And Lauren had a guitar, and she would teach us these songs. And, I didn't think anything of it over the past years. And when we started talking about this, I was like, wow, 10 years ago, I reconnected with a lot of these girls that were in the choir. I took a trip to Europe and I met up with all these different girls. And we just started singing all the songs that we learned when we were 11 years old, like 35 years later.
That's awesome.
And I couldn't believe that I knew every single word. I was like, how do I know this song? I don't understand. But it really made me realize how much it lived inside of me.
Yes.
And it was such a positive experience because I never saw myself as a singer. I mean, I still don't, but I love.
You have a very nice voice.
We sang in kindergarten.
Oh, yes, we do. We are canaries at heart.
What's your story, Jenny?
Well, when you said you joined this choir in 1977, it reminds me, my very first choir was in 1976 back in New Orleans.
Look at us.
Yes, I was in a choir. It was really fun. So I've always enjoyed singing. I love a choir because you're supposed to blend in. And I think that's the gift of a choir for me. But my story is really actually when I was beginning my teaching career. I was really finishing up my teaching credential and I needed a full-time job for the following fall. And I was substituting a lot. And there's one school district I really, really wanted. So whatever they needed, I wanted to be fully on board. And I hadn't spent a lot of time in kindergarten. So one day I was called into kindergarten. I'm reading the day's lessons, and the teacher left a song. She's like, I always open the door when the bell rings, and I greet my students with this song, something like, good morning to you, good morning to you. I'm like, do I really have to do this? I'm like, you want the job in this district? You do whatever you have to do. So the bell rings, and I open the door, and for whatever reason, there was just a sea of parents. It was all the parents and all the kids, and they're looking at me. I'm the substitute for the day. I'd not been at the school before. And I just sang with gusto. I'd like shoulders back, get into it, just own it, sing it. And the power was the day, because inside my head, I'm like, this just feels awkward. I don't know what I'm doing. But it changed my outlook for the whole day. I enjoyed being with those kindergartners, and it started with song. And
it was such a positive greeting for them.
It was. Yeah. I think everybody was a little stunned. The looks on the parents' faces it's kind of etched in my mind, like, who is this weirdo lady? But I really believe that singing makes everything a better day. So I'm very excited that today we're going to welcome someone who knows how to bring joy in the classroom in more ways than one. And today's guest is Ben Enright. Yay!
Hi, guys. Nice to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here. So Ben wears lots of hats. He's a middle and high school choir director, a middle school history teacher, and he's also the vocal director for both middle and high school musical productions. Mm-hmm. Did I get that right?
That's right.
Okay. His energy and humor make students love singing, learning, and performing.
Oh, great. Today, we're going to talk about how choir builds connection, how history comes alive through music, and of course, we'll share some behind-the-scenes stories you won't want to miss. Plus, we've got a lightning round of fun questions for you, Ben.
All right, so let's get started with the joy of singing and so much more.
Ben, we like to start each episode when we have a guest, and we like to ask them their earliest memory of school. So what's your earliest memory, and perhaps what inspired you to become a teacher and a choir director, if there's any connection there?
Yeah. I went to a preschool and kindergarten in Hollywood. The specialists who would come in, I think your parents had to sign you up for it. So there was a day when we were supposed to have music, and for some reason I wasn't in that class. And I remember crying, and then finally they just let me do it. And then I remember going to elementary school and then middle school and then high school. There wasn't a choir in middle school, but the music appreciation teacher always had us sing. And just like you were saying, you were remembering all the songs from when you were younger. I feel like I could sing some of the songs that my middle school music appreciation teacher taught. And by the time I got to high school, it was my high school choir director who was like, no, you should be a choir teacher.
Wow.
That's what you should do. And then I didn't really think of that until college. And it wasn't until college where a good friend of mine was student conducting, and the college choir director was very strict with her. Mm-hmm. And my friend sitting next to me leans over and she's like, I would never want to do that. And I was like, I can't wait to do that. And so that's really where I was like, yeah, I'm going to major in music education.
That's so cool.
So you majored in music education, mm-hmm. and you didn't mind the strict choir director.
No, not at all. And what was funny was that as strict as he was with that student, I didn't feel like he was that strict with me. Maybe it was because I came to college with needing more rudimentary skills. Okay. I didn't know how to read music very mm-hmm. well. I didn't know a whole lot about being in a large upper level choir. So I just thought that everything was, this is the way it's supposed to be. Oh. So I didn't actually see it as super strict.
You saw him wanting to bring the best out of you.
Yes.
Do you feel like you embody some of that as a choir director? Like, do you think your students see you as strict? I'm curious.
I think there are certain parts of the rehearsal process, and I think the part where they're really starting to memorize and they're getting away from looking at the sheet music, and they're looking at me more, and I'm doing gestures where I'm expecting them to get louder or get softer or certain musical concepts. And I think that's where it's very difficult because you just have to repeat it over and over. And you have to practice.
And they have to pay attention.
Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah. So it's similar to kindergarten. We always say we teach, they learn, they forget, and repeat. So it sounds like you have a little bit of that in your teaching as well.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see, always after a break or something, it's interesting to see how much they remember after 1 week here or 2 weeks there.
See, we're all still just big kindergartners.
That's right.
We are.
That's why we're here today.
So let's talk about the next question. How do you help students find their voice, literally and figuratively, in choir?
You know, that's so interesting because just like we talk about in classroom teaching, we have different learners. Everybody has a different voice. And you can't teach students the same way, you know, and certain students will have more experience than others. Some of them are just more naturally talented, but I usually like to get them, if they aren't comfortable in the classroom, they're not going to do whatever you want. So doing a funny vocal warm-up or showing them that they don't have to be perfect, especially in middle school. You know, kids' voices are changing and there's a voice crack. And so just showing them that perfection isn't what's sought after,
Right.
Because it's so many of the times it's imperfections that actually make something human and what brings us together.
I've seen that myself, like when I've seen, I think that's why I like live stage musics and musicals and plays, because there will be that moment where something doesn't go perfectly, but you're like, it's okay. It still goes on.
And also, I love that there's such a parallel between little kids and, you know, these are not as little kids, but they're so self-conscious. They're in such a tricky phase of their development, right? And we work so hard with the small ones to make them feel safe and comfortable in order for them to be the best of that they can be. And like for you to find their voice, that's such a great question, Jenny, because you have to do the same thing, but in a different way. So it's like, how can you trick them?
And give them dignity, right? I think that's the key, is safe, and then you don't want to embarrass them. You want them to feel comfortable in letting go.
So what do you think singing together? This is something that I've been thinking about a lot, just in the story that I told, like singing together, it teaches us that other activities can't do. What's the power of singing together? What does it teach?
You know, Jenny had mentioned blend in the story that you were talking about, and how that made you feel more comfortable. It's like there's not one voice that's sticking out. And so I feel like everybody's working towards the same goal. And if you feel like you're singing louder than someone else, then you can like ease off a little bit. But it's also a matter of knowing that in the things that you don't know, you can let someone else carry the load a little bit more on a higher note. You know, someone else can sing that higher note a little bit better than I can, so I'm going to back off. And then as soon as it comes down more into my range, then I'm going to be in there pulling my weight. But it's realizing that other people within the group can rely on you and you on them.
I love that.
It's like the ultimate cooperative learning experience, right? I mean, it's...
Yes. I know when I've been in choirs, like even at church, I love when there's a better singer that's right behind me, and I'll pretend like that voice is mine. That's good. I'm like, yes, I'd love to have you be behind me. And then it makes it even better. So Ben, can you share a moment when a student or performance reminded you of why you love this work?
In our high school choir and in the middle school choir, it's performance based. So we don't do a lot on sight reading and this, that, and the other. But if you're interested in focusing a little bit more on that, we definitely do enough new songs and things like that to be able to follow along. I have this one student who went to college and she was auditioning for a choir. And the person was like, you know what, you shouldn't be in this choir. You should be in the more advanced choir. And in sight reading and whatever, he was impressed with her. And so he was like, yeah, you should be doing this. And so the student told her dad, she's like, you know what, even in choir, I didn't even know we were learning anything.
She's just having such a good time.
She was having a good time, but she was curious and interested and had that ability to want to be a leader because she saw other students in high school, other juniors and seniors when she was a freshman or sophomore, helping her, being that voice behind her. And now she wanted to do that herself.
Well, maybe she'll be a choir director one day.
Maybe, if she's not a doctor.
There you go. Multi-talented.
Is there something when you're directing a choir? Because I know you've worked with students, but you've also worked outside in the community as a choir director. What's the most joy that you have with that, being that choir director?
I think it's when the choir members can see a moment that they can appreciate in your musicality that they've just never experienced or never thought of before. My college choir director was he just had beautiful gestures and cutoffs, and they had come down here to Los Angeles on tour. And so the high school choir performed, and then my college choir director and my college choir performed. And the next morning when we were, sending them on their way, one of the students in the college came over to me and was like, in the concert last night, I could tell that you were his student based on the conducting. And I was like, oh,
that's a huge compliment.
What a beautiful compliment. It really was so nice. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've had the privilege of watching you direct the high school choir at the high school graduation.
It's incredible. It's so moving. It's my favorite.
So we have a very fancy graduation venue, the Disney Hall. Let's just say it like it is because it's so good. You could hear a pin drop, and in walks Ben with his high school choir. And it's an incredible experience to see.
Well, and it's so interesting because that's obviously, choir directing is my craft.
Yes.
And it's part of teaching. And to have 100+ of my colleagues seeing me as if they were in the choir is something that does not happen.
Yeah, because when you think about if you're not in the choir, you're in the audience.
Yeah,
so
and my back is to you.
And here, this the way it's set up, the teachers are behind the students. So we are looking at Ben's face as he's conducting. And you do have beautiful movements. And those kids are so focused on you and where you're taking them. And it's really a highlight.
It is a highlight. We love that.
So thank you, Ben. Keep doing this.
My pleasure.
So let's move on and talk about how history and theater are connected in terms of how does your background in history and teaching history influence the way you teach music, or do they, or don't they, or vice versa,
Yeah, there's oftentimes, especially when it comes to when a song is written or when lyrics are written, it can have an impact on how a student feels about it. So there was a song called I Sing Because I'm Happy. And there are some kids who have been like, oh, it's kind of like babyish. I sing because I'm happy. And I'm like, yeah, but if you look when it was written and you look at the fact that it was like more of a spiritual kind of a song, it was written right after the Civil War.
Wow.
And that really brings in an undertone of, people's lives were changed because of the Emancipation Proclamation and fighting for freedom. So that's certainly one of the things that I found kids could connect what they're learning in the history class and the choir room. But another interesting little story is Martin Luther King's speech at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. He had his notes there ready to go, and Mahalia Jackson, who was a gospel singer, had sung something at the march, and she yells out, and if you see the video of it, you can hear her say, "Tell him about the dream." Oh. And then Dr. King puts down his cards, and he gives probably the most famous speech of American history at the March on Washington, and had Mahalia Jackson not been there,
really?
Who knows if we would have gotten that?
Because I see clips of that video, but I need to go back and watch that and look for her.
If you watch his whole speech, because obviously I Have a Dream is something that's taken out of it. It's an excerpt of the entirety of the speech.
Okay.
The lead up to the speech is where she's like, "Tell him about the dream."
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
That is powerful. Do you find any parallels between leading a choir and leading a classroom discussion in history?
What's interesting is because I teach, especially high school, 9 through 12, I count on the students who've been in choir to help lead, to help okay, they've gotten their music out, so the younger kids are I'm going to get mine out too, or showing someone in the music where they are. And it's the same kind of thing in the history classroom. Everybody has different experiences, and we teach such a variety of things in U.S. history that everybody, I feel, has a chance to really connect with the subject and can lead and lend a story to their own personal life. So I feel like it's allowing students to have a voice, to be leaders, really brings us together.
Especially because when you're in, say, high school, a 9th grader versus a 12th grader, that's a huge age difference developmentally.
Yeah.
And what a privilege for those older kids to be able to mentor. That's a great thing.
And we also have some really great middle school theater productions, and wouldn't you say? I mean, you would say.
For sure.
The best.
So what role do you think those productions for middle schoolers have in their growth and confidence?
I think that it really allows, especially middle school kids, to step out of their comfort zone and to be somebody else. Because someone who is shy might take on a role that's a little more rambunctious, and it can help them, even if they aren't going to take on those qualities in their own life, it challenges them to really see what it's like. And so I think that becoming your character and understanding, okay, if my character is like this, why are they like this? And then that lends such an empathy for them to kind of see other people.
Absolutely.
It does a lot. And it's always fun for us to see the productions because we've taught a lot of these students from when they were just coming into kindergarten. And there's one student in particular that I'm thinking of that did not speak for their entirety, their entire year of kindergarten. And they got up on the stage and I was just blown away by the confidence, their presence in general. It was really impressive. I think definitely it does a lot for that.
And with theater especially, because when you're saying a line up on stage, you have to.
At Lowe's, before the holidays is the perfect time for upgrades and upkeep. During Black Friday, get up to 50% off select major appliances and buy more to save more with up to an additional 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. Plus, grab select DeWalt 20-volt max drill or impact driver kits for just $99. Lowe's. We help, you save. Valid through 12/3. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
At Capella University, learning online doesn't mean learning alone. You'll get support from people who care about your success, like your enrollment specialist who gets to know you and the goals you'd like to achieve. You'll also get a designated academic coach who's with you throughout your entire program. Plus, career coaches are available to help you navigate your professional goals. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Oh, the car from Carvana's here. Well, will you look at that? It's exactly what I ordered. Precisely. It would be crazy if there were any catches. But there aren't, right?
Right. Because that's how car buying should be. With Carvana, you get the car you want. Choose delivery or pickup and a week to love it or return it.
Buy your car today with
Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Not just practice until you get it right. You practice until you never get it wrong. And that really, in middle school, that's really kind of the first time where, okay, this is all on me and this really matters.
So it's like you're internalizing it completely. Wow.
What's one lesson you hope your students carry from history or theater into their everyday lives?
I think it's the understanding of being curious and having questions and being interested in finding out what inspires you and coming away with something that is also meaningful. So the curiosity leads to something inspirational, and then hopefully that is a meaningful aspect of your life, whatever it is.
I agree. Being curious, asking questions, looking at things from different perspectives. I didn't think about that, but it does correlate to both music and history
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
So cool. Okay, let's go behind the scenes a little bit. We love to laugh. We love funny stories.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite one from a rehearsal or performance that makes you laugh still today?
Yeah, I have two different little stories about that. One of them, I said, practicing until you never get it wrong. But once again, we're imperfect. And so I was conducting a show. I was conducting Shrek. The guy who played Shrek just nailed every single performance. And there was just one time where he, in the middle of a song, went up on some lyrics and he couldn't remember. And I just remember his panicked look right at me because I was conducting the orchestra. And so I mouthed the words to him, and then he got right back on track. And he was just amazing. But it was so funny how just being prepared for being prepared for anything. And so that was a kind of a funny story. And then another thing is at graduation and during concerts, I really tend to try to take a moment to make eye contact with, especially my seniors, who, some of them have been in choir with me for 6 years. And so that's always a meaningful aspect of the bond that we've made.
Right, and from their perspective too, I'm sure that really matters to them. Like that boy who forgot his lines, he was locked in with you, thank goodness. And the seniors, that just warms my heart. The eye contact, the moment. Imagine how that makes them feel.
Oh, incredible. Do you have students that you stay in touch with after high school?
Definitely, yeah.
Nice.
One of my students has a choir concert tonight. So he sent me the link for the concert, and so I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I have kids who are in a cappella choirs and, they're university choirs and all kinds of stuff. And I'm so glad that they take advantage of that.
Yes.
And I always tell them, no matter if it's choir or sports or whatever, at certain schools, whether it's a K through 12 school or a secondary school, you have some time to kind of find where you want to be. And in college, if you like something, you got to get started right away because it's easy. If you don't do it 1 year, then there's a limited amount of time you have left. I always encourage them to go right in.
Go right in.
Yeah.
I know, it's amazing how fast college years go by.
Yeah.
It seems like you're building up, and then college is just a blink and then you're done. So good point to encourage them to keep going. Well, for you, what is your biggest challenge of balancing choir, history, and theater? That's a lot of time commitment, grading. How do you manage all of it?
It is, yeah. You hit the nail right on the head. It's a lot of
I'm overwhelmed for you.
Yeah, it's a lot of balance. One of the things I love about teaching choir and history is that sometimes if something isn't going really well in choir because we're learning a really difficult song or whatever, we might be doing something in history that I really enjoy.
Okay.
And sometimes maybe a unit that isn't my favorite, but it's still important, but it's just not my favorite. Something in choir is going really well. So I like having that balance. In balancing the time, it's really about asking for help and asking for advice and just bouncing ideas off of people and knowing that the guy who accompanies the choir is an amazing musician. And so, sometimes if I don't hear something, he does.
Okay.
And so he is happy to help, you should make sure the altos have this note or whatever. Nothing personal, altos.
We love our altos. When you say you ask for advice, are you talking primarily your colleagues or is there other people that you reach out to?
Advice, that's interesting because I can certainly ask advice from colleagues, but I think in just talking with students before class or after class or in between class or whatever, they let you know what they're feeling and how they're doing, and they have big tests. And part of being, I think, in tune with the kids is seeing where they are. And if they're super stressed or super focused on a big test that's coming up, I can maybe give them an extra 5 minutes of study hall time or something like that, which can help them balance too.
I love
Because
it.
if they're not in a good space, I can't be in a good space.
Right. That's a mark of a great teacher.
Yeah.
You're reading the
Read the room.
energy, read
Yeah.
the room.
Read the room.
That checks and balances with
Yeah.
it.
So Jenny and I talk a lot about, we love to, create joy in the classroom. It's such a big part of what we do. And it's so important to keep it alive. So some years we're just like, this is not bringing us joy. Let's reevaluate. How do you keep the joy alive? Like year after year after year, you've been teaching for a long time. Do you change things up, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I'll change things up, especially in choir where I don't have to give a test like I would in history. We have performances, but so much of what we do is feeling comfortable and bonding and things like that. The best way to bring joy out of that is just humor and allowing kids to tell stories, allowing me to tell stories, or going into some kind of accent or whatever. But yeah, I think it's through humor, and even in history too, finding humor in the space.
Yeah, it's important. What have your students taught you about resilience, humor, and or creativity? Because I'm sure they like to joke around.
Yeah, and a lot. What's interesting, again, in teaching secondary school is I'll have some of the kids for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And so they'll remember a story, or they'll remember something that happened, and, they'll bring that up. But in terms of resilience, I think the first concert of the year that we do both for middle school and high school are a little bit less, they're not as high stakes. They're a little more casual. And then like our winter concert is a little bit more formal. In having a concert that's not as high stakes, it allows them to press boundaries in terms of what they want to do. A kid wants to try a solo, and everyone in the audience is really excited. And there was there have been several times where kids will be in the middle of a solo and just forget words. Oh. And there was this one time where we had to stop. And, that's when everyone's like, yes, come on, you can do it. And they applaud. And then he remembered it. Then we got going again. We finished the song. And it was just like, from that point on, he never forgot words again. Whether it's because he didn't want to be embarrassed, or whether it was because like knowing what it felt like, and knowing, okay, I know I need to do this 500 times before next concert, or...
Yeah, just that preparation.
Yeah.
What a lovely story that the audience really encouraged him, because it could have gone two different ways.
Yeah,
and
totally.
that anxiety can be building up, but that he pushed through with the encouragement of everybody. What a gift.
And that's something that is really special about the arts, is that everybody who's there wants you to succeed.
Totally.
In sports, it's like if our team is winning, maybe the other team is making a mistake or something. But something that's so nice about performing arts, especially, is everybody is happy to be there and wants you to do well.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a joyful experience.
How long have you been teaching, Ben?
This is my 23rd year.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, all at the same school.
The same school. Well, it's a great school, and what a gift that you bring for 23 plus many, many more years to come. So.
That's great. So you talked a little bit about your students when they transition and go off to college. Like, what do you hope for them when they leave your classroom or the other choir?
I want them to be excited about something, whether it is in choir or wherever. I want them to look forward to the next thing. It might be scary, but if you have something to look forward to, like, my high school choir experience was really fun, but I have this big choir to look forward to in college. That's always really great.
Do students, just out of curiosity, like, is that something you sign up for, like, or you're looking for that as part of your college experience, if they're really engaged in the music world?
I'd say that most of the schools that my choir kids go to have music programs. So they're not necessarily choosing a school based on the music program. It's always a great side thing that they get to do, that they can enjoy and relax.
It's so cool.
It soothes the soul.
Yeah.
I took a choir class at San Diego State, and I wish I'd had an instructor like Ben. He was really intense. And the singers in the class were so incredible. It was really a beautiful thing to be a part of a choir in college. So I'm glad so many of your students like to do that. Okay. If you had all the money in the world, there was no budget, and you could design the perfect school experience blending history, music, and theater, what would it look like for you, Ben?
You know what? I think it revolves around people who want to be there. And that's always one of the great things about teaching choir is that everybody has that one thing in common. Everybody wants to be there. You know, when you're in your English class in middle school, the person next to you might like reading or might not like reading. And so allowing choice, I think, would be like super fun and super energizing. You were talking, how do you make things, if you're not feeling something, do you change things year to year? It would be neat to adjust things to what students are curious about.
Let them guide the curriculum.
Yeah.
So how do you see the role of the arts evolving for this next generation? Because it is evolving.
What's so kids, you know, will latch onto certain new artists and things like that. But a lot of times they also will hear something on social media or they'll hear something in a movie or whatever. And they end up looking back too, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, there's this really great band. Have you ever heard? They're called the Beatles. And it's like, great music is timeless.
It's funny because that's like not evolution, but it is evolution.
Yeah. And the basics of like a 3-minute song that the Beatles would do, you know, evolve into something else. And a lot of times artists will sample and things like that. And that sparks that creativity and imagination in kids, which is super nice.
Then we're going to move into our next section, the lightning round questions. So you ready?
I think so.
Okay.
Whatever pops in.
Yes. The first song you ever performed in front of an audience.
It was, and I think I have video of this, but it was when I was really little and it was Mother's Day or at the time it would have been Mother's Day. And so for whatever reason, I sang Happy Birthday, but instead of birthday, I said Happy Mother's Day. So it was Happy Mother's Day to you. And so that was the first time I remember like being in front of people, like singing.
Which history figure would you love to see in your choir?
This is kind of a cheat because it's kind of both singing and choir, but probably someone like Ella Fitzgerald who could sing anything, just an amazing, amazing singer. But she also was a part of, in her own way, the civil rights movement at the time. There's such an interesting story about her and Marilyn Monroe and this. She wasn't going to be able to sing at this certain club. So Marilyn Monroe said, I'll sit in the front row every night she performs there. And that brought an audience.
Wow.
And so they knew each other. Like you hear about
I've never heard of that before.
It's a good
you hear
story.
about different people, but connecting them and putting them together in the same place at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if they showed up in your choir?
Oh my God.
You're like, let's
Marilyn
do
Monroe
this.
and Diamonds and
Yes.
Ella Fitzgerald scatting. Oh yeah.
So cool.
So what's your drink of preference? Coffee, tea, something stronger during tech week?
Yeah, definitely something stronger after rehearsals and after all that. But I love a good hot chai latte with oat milk.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
What's your favorite musical or choral piece to direct?
My favorite musical right now, and it's been for a while, it used to be Big River. But right now it's a show called Next to Normal, which has been around for a while, but it's got great songs and a really interesting plot. And when it comes to conducting, favorite songs to conduct, I love conducting things that inspire kids, that kids are like, I never thought I'd like this piece, but I do. And so there's a song I think I did last year with the high school choir called Kapios Yortasi, and it's a Greek song, and it's in an unusual meter, and it's difficult because of the meter, it's difficult because of the language, but you know, shortly before the performance, you know, a couple of the girls were like, Mr. Enright, I hated this song, but now it's one of my favorites.
Aww.
So that's always a great kind of song to.
Great. Well, can you think of a time a middle schooler had a quote you'll never forget, something they said?
There are definitely a lot of quotes. There's one where a student was like, you know, I admire your ability to keep yourself entertained. It's like so funny. And then this other boy had seen some of the performances that I'd done with the big choir that I sing in. And I'm always I call it the top row, not the back row, but the top row. It's like, Mr. Enright, why are you always at the back? And I'm like, well, I don't like people singing wrong notes in my ear. And so he said, like, just off the top of his head, he goes, well, why are you a middle school choir teacher then?
That is a clever one.
That is a clever one. And you are so talented. So if you could step into Broadway, I could visualize you there. What role, tomorrow, what role would you play? What would you want to play?
I'd probably say the king in Hamilton because
yes.
He sings, but he's not on stage a long time.
Yes.
And he doesn't have to memorize a whole lot of things. And so that's where I am as a human. I'm in like
I could see you playing that role in a minute.
Same.
I love that play anyway. Oh.
Can you do it?
Okay, I'll try. I'll have to look at some lyrics, but
okay.
So
here he comes.
You'll be back, soon you'll see. You remember you belong to me. You'll be back, time will tell. You'll remember that I served you well. Oceans rise, empires fall. We have seen each other through it all. And when push comes to shove, I will send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love.
Oh my gosh, that's genius. I have goosebumps.
Same.
Oh, you're so good. Your voice is beautiful.
My parents spent a lot of money educating me.
Well, we're going to go to Broadway and see you play this role. I think you'd be perfect for it.
That was so fun.
Oh, you made my whole day. I just have to tell you, I love that. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
So,
all right. So, Kristine, we've gotten a lot from Ben today.
We really have.
Can you think of your big little lesson that you're taking away?
I can, for sure. Singing is something that we do a lot in kindergarten. And I don't know why it stops after kindergarten, but not all elementary school teachers sing the way kindergarten teachers sing. But when you were speaking about the togetherness of singing, it really makes me realize how important it is to continue to do that. Mm-hmm. And I wish that there was more of it, but I never really thought about the experience, the cooperative experience that the children are having singing, because when you're 5 and 6, you don't have, your ego is not in the way, and you're pretty raw. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And I would love to just tap into that,
Yeah, that collaborative work.
Yes.
I know. For me, the big little lesson, Ben has just inspired me. And thinking back on, I've been in choirs through elementary and high school and a little bit in college. That curiosity kind of keeps coming up. And it's like finding those ways, even at now age 59, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I could still be a part of a choir. Yeah. And so I feel like that's something that no matter what age, finding the things that you feel that joy. And the joy of singing is really fun. And so Ben, you've inspired me to reach out and find some sort of choir to be a part of.
I love it.
Wait, even better if you're the director. That's what I want. That's my dream.
Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. You've really reminded us that singing it's not just about music. No. It's about belonging. It's about creativity and joy. So much joy. Your students are so lucky to have you.
So lucky to have you. And my future choir director. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, The Joy of Singing, and so much more, share it with a friend, a fellow teacher, or anyone who needs a little inspiration.
And as we say, we might not have all the answers, but we have lots of experience. So until next time,
keep singing, keep learning, and keep finding joy in the little moments.
Bye-bye.
At Capella University, learning online doesn't mean learning alone. You'll get support from people who care about your success, like your enrollment specialist who gets to know you and the goals you'd like to achieve. You'll also get a designated academic coach who's with you throughout your entire program. Plus, career coaches are available to help you navigate your professional goals. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.